Trans woman denied entry to store, then Clint Eastwood teaches staff a lesson. How will this story turn out? To find out, watch the video to the end. But first, please subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications to get more stories like this. Chloe adjusted her tie as she approached the store entrance, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nerves. She had always loved fashion, and this boutique was known for its bold, cutting-edge designs. Today, she was shopping for a special event, a celebration of her 2-year anniversary living as her authentic self. It was a milestone she wanted to honor with an outfit that reflected her journey, her resilience, and her joy. As she pushed open the glass door, a small bell jingled, announcing her arrival. Chloe's bright blue hair framed her face, and her confident stride carried her into the vibrant space. The store was quiet, with soft jazz playing in the background, and racks of colorful clothes neatly arranged under the glow of stylish lighting. Before she could take another step, a stern voice stopped her in her tracks. "Excuse me, miss," a sales associate called out. Chloe turned to see a middle-aged woman standing behind the counter, her expression frosty. "Can I help you?" "Yes," Chloe said with a warm smile. "I'm looking for something unique for an event. Maybe a statement piece?" The woman's sharp tone cut her off. "I'm sorry, but we reserve the right to refuse service. I think you'd be better off shopping somewhere else." Chloe blinked, her smile faltering. "I don't understand. I haven't even." The associate raised a hand, her lips pressed into a tight line. "We have a specific clientele here. I don't think you'd find anything suitable for you." The sting of the words hit Chloe like a slap. Her cheeks flushed with a mix of embarrassment and anger as the meaning behind the associate's statement became clear. She wasn't welcome here, not because of her behavior, but because of who she was. Across the street, Clint Eastwood leaned against his car, casually observing the scene unfold. The iconic actor and director, known for his steely gaze and no-nonsense demeanor, had stopped by the area to visit an old friend. As he waited, he noticed Chloe enter the store and saw the confrontation through the glass windows. His sharp instincts immediately told him something was off. Clint watched as Chloe hesitated, clearly flustered, before turning and walking back out of the store. Her head was held high, but the pain in her eyes was unmistakable. Clint's jaw tightened. Discrimination was something he couldn't stand, and he wasn't about to let this go unchecked. He crossed the street with purposeful strides, his tall frame cutting an imposing figure. As Chloe walked away, he called out to her. "Excuse me, miss?" Chloe turned, startled to see the familiar face. "Yes," she said cautiously, unsure of why Clint Eastwood was addressing her. "I couldn't help but notice what happened back there," he said, gesturing toward the store. "Are you okay?" Chloe hesitated, her emotions bubbling just beneath the surface. "I'm fine," she said quickly, though her trembling voice betrayed her. "It's nothing I haven't dealt with before." Clint frowned, his piercing eyes locking onto hers. "That doesn't make it right. What they did was wrong, and you shouldn't have to just accept it." Chloe looked down, her hands clenching the strap of her bag. "I've learned to pick my battles. People like that, they don't change." "Maybe not," Clint said, his voice calm but firm. "But sometimes they just need the right lesson." Chloe glanced up at him, curiosity flickering in her eyes. "And you think you can teach them?" Clint's lips curled into a faint smile. "I've been known to get a point across." Inside the store, the sales associate returned to organizing a rack of dresses, pleased that the problem had left without causing a scene. She prided herself on maintaining the boutique's exclusive atmosphere, which often meant turning away anyone who didn't fit her narrow idea of what a customer should look like. The doorbell jingled again, and she glanced up, expecting another patron. Instead, she froze as Clint Eastwood strode in, his presence commanding the room. The associate's demeanor shifted immediately, her professional mask slipping into place. "Good afternoon, sir," she said with a polite smile. "Welcome to our boutique. How can I assist you?" Clint didn't return the smile. His eyes scanned the store, noting the carefully curated displays and the aura of exclusivity. "I'm not here to shop," he said bluntly. "I'm here to talk about how you treated that young woman who just left." The associate's smile faltered. "But I don't know what you mean," she said quickly, her tone defensive. You know exactly what I mean, Clint replied, his voice as sharp as a blade. I saw how you turned her away. Care to explain why? The woman's composure began to crack under Clint's intense gaze. Sir, we have the right to refuse service to anyone we choose. It's nothing personal. Nothing personal? Clint repeated, his tone incredulous. You looked at her and decided she didn't belong here. That's not just personal, it's prejudice. The associate's cheeks flushed, and she glanced around nervously, as though searching for an escape. I didn't mean any harm, she stammered. I just didn't think she'd be comfortable shopping here. That's not your decision to make, Clint said firmly. Your job is to treat every customer with respect, not to judge them based on your own biases. By now, a few employees had gathered nearby, drawn by the raised voices. They exchanged uncertain glances, unsure of how to intervene. Clint turned to address them, his voice carrying the weight of authority. Let me tell you something, he said, his tone steady. Respect isn't optional. It's the bare minimum. That young woman came here to shop, just like anyone else, and you treated her like she didn't deserve to be here. That kind of behavior isn't just unprofessional, it's unacceptable. The room fell silent, the weight of Clint's words hanging in the air. The associate fidgeted, her confidence thoroughly shaken. I didn't realize. That's the problem, Clint interrupted. You didn't realize because you didn't take the time to see her as a person. And that's something you need to fix. The sales associate stood frozen, her face pale as Clint's words hit her with the weight of undeniable truth. Around her, the gathered employees whispered among themselves, their expressions ranging from discomfort to quiet shame. The silence was broken only by Clint's deliberate steps as he moved toward the center of the store, his presence commanding the attention of everyone in the room. You know, Clint began, his voice calm yet powerful, I've been around long enough to know that the world isn't always kind. But when I see people contributing to that cruelty, especially in a place that's supposed to welcome everyone, it doesn't sit right with me. The associate opened her mouth to respond, but Clint raised a hand to stop her. I'm not interested in excuses, he said firmly. I'm interested in accountability. What you did wasn't just unkind, it was discriminatory. And that's not something I'm willing to overlook. The employees exchanged uneasy glances, their usual confidence shaken by the legendary figure standing before them. One of them, a younger man named Eric, finally spoke up. We didn't mean to hurt anyone, he said hesitantly. We just thought, well, maybe she wouldn't be a good fit for our brand. Clint's piercing gaze landed on Eric, making him shift uncomfortably. A good fit? Clint echoed, his tone sharp. Let me tell you something about your brand. If your idea of a good fit means excluding people based on how they look or who they are, then your brand isn't worth much. Eric looked down, his cheeks reddening. Clint sighed, softening his tone slightly. Look, I get it. Maybe you didn't think it was a big deal. But to her, to that young woman, it was everything. Do you have any idea how much courage it takes for someone like her to walk into a place like this, knowing there's a chance she'll be judged or rejected? The room remained silent, the weight of Clint's words pressing down on everyone present. Finally, the sales associate spoke, her voice trembling. You're right. I didn't think about that. I just acted without considering how it would affect her. Clint nodded, his expression stern but not unkind. Acknowledging your mistake is a start, but it's not enough. You need to do better, starting now. Outside the store, Chloe sat on a bench, trying to collect herself. She had told herself not to let the encounter get to her, but the pain lingered. It wasn't the first time she had faced rejection, and she knew it wouldn't be the last. But no matter how many times it happened, it still hurt. Excuse me, a familiar voice said, interrupting her thoughts. Chloe looked up to see Clint standing before her, his expression softening as their eyes met. I had a chat with the folks in there, Clint said, nodding toward the store. I think they're starting to understand the error of their ways. Chloe raised an eyebrow, her skepticism evident. And you think that'll make a difference? I do, Clint replied simply. Because people can change. Sometimes they just need someone to hold up a mirror and show them what they're doing wrong. Chloe sighed, her shoulders slumping. I've heard that before. But it's hard to believe when you're the one being pushed away, time and time again. Clint sat down beside her, his gaze steady. You're right, it's not fair, and it's not easy. But you standing up for yourself, even just by walking in there, is a step toward change. And sometimes, change starts small. Chloe studied him for a moment, her expression softening. Why do you care so much? You don't even know me. Clint smiled faintly. I don't need to know you to see that what happened to you was wrong. And I've spent my life standing up to injustice. It's just who I am. Inside the store, the staff gathered near the counter, their usual air of confidence replaced by a mix of guilt and uncertainty. The sales associate looked at her team, her voice trembling as she spoke. He's right. What we did wasn't just wrong, it was cruel. And if we're going to fix this, we need to start by making it right with her. One of the younger employees, a woman named Lisa, stepped forward. I think we should apologize. Not just to her, but to anyone we've ever treated unfairly. We've been so focused on keeping things exclusive that we've forgotten what it means to be human. The group murmured their agreement, and the associate nodded. Then let's do it. No more excuses. Chloe was still sitting with Clint when the store's employees emerged, their expressions a mix of nervousness and determination. The sales associate approached Chloe cautiously, her hands clasped in front of her. Miss, she began, her voice shaky. I want to apologize for the way we treated you. It was wrong and there's no excuse for it. You deserve to be welcomed, not judged. I'm sorry. Chloe blinked, caught off guard by the sincerity in the woman's tone. She looked at the rest of the staff, who nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting genuine remorse. We've realized how much harm we've caused, the associate continued. And we want to do better. If you're willing, we'd like to invite you back into the store. Not as a customer, but as someone who can help us learn how to be better. Chloe hesitated, her emotions swirling. Part of her wanted to walk away, to let them sit with their guilt. But another part of her, the part that had always believed in the power of change, wanted to give them a chance. Finally, she nodded. Okay, she said quietly. But only if you're serious about making a real effort. We are, the associate promised. And we'll prove it to you. Clint smiled, his faith in humanity reaffirmed. Good. Because change starts with accountability, and you're taking the right first step. Chloe stood at the threshold of the store, still unsure if she could trust their words. The sales associate, now visibly humbled, stepped aside, gesturing for Chloe to come inside. Please, she said softly. We'd like to make this right. Chloe hesitated, glancing at Clint. He gave her a small nod, his steady gaze offering encouragement. Taking a deep breath, Chloe stepped forward, crossing the line she had been barred from earlier. The staff gathered around her, their postures open but nervous. Lisa, the younger employee, spoke first. We want to hear your story, she said earnestly. We need to understand what you've gone through so we can be better, not just today but every day. Chloe's heart raced as the weight of the moment settled over her. She had always dreamed of a world where people like her were seen and respected, but the idea of opening up so deeply, especially to the very people who had wronged her, was daunting. Still, she knew this was an opportunity to create change, not just for herself, but for others who might face similar treatment. Okay, she said, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions within her. I'll share my story. But I need you to listen, not to respond, not to defend yourselves, but to truly listen. The group nodded, and they all moved to the center of the store, where a small seating area was arranged. Clint leaned against a nearby display, his arms crossed as he watched, offering silent support. Chloe began her story, her voice trembling at first but growing stronger as she spoke. She told them about her childhood, the confusion she had felt growing up in a world that seemed to reject her true self. She spoke of the pain of being judged and ostracized, and the courage it had taken to finally embrace her identity. There's a lot of fear in the world, she said, her eyes sweeping over the group. Fear of what's different, fear of what we don't understand. I've felt that fear every day of my life. Fear that someone will judge me, reject me, or even hurt me just for being who I am. Her voice cracked, but she pushed through. And when I walked into this store, I felt that fear again. Not because I did anything wrong, but because you looked at me and decided I didn't belong. The sales associate lowered her gaze, shame flickering across her face. Lisa wiped away a tear, her expression filled with regret. But here's the thing, Chloe continued. I'm still standing. I've faced rejection and judgment before, and I'll face it again. But I don't want anyone else to feel what I felt in that moment. That's why I'm here, to help you see that your words, your actions, they matter. They can either tear someone down or lift them up. The choice is yours. When Chloe finished speaking, the room was silent, the weight of her words hanging in the air. The sales associate finally looked up, her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she said softly. "Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm so sorry for the pain we caused you. We've been blind to our own biases, but I promise we're going to change." Lisa nodded, her voice trembling as she added, "We want to do more than apologize. We want to take action, starting with learning how to treat everyone with the respect they deserve." Chloe's shoulders relaxed slightly, a hint of hope flickering in her chest. "Actions speak louder than words," she said. "If you're serious about this, prove it." The associate nodded. "We will. Starting with a commitment to educate ourselves and make this store a safe, welcoming space for everyone." Over the next few days, the store underwent a transformation. The staff participated in workshops on inclusivity and unconscious bias, inviting experts to lead discussions and share resources. Chloe, at Clint's suggestion, returned to share more of her experiences, helping the team understand the impact of their actions on a deeper level. Clint, meanwhile, kept a watchful eye on the progress. He had seen enough of the world to know that real change didn't happen overnight, but he was impressed by the staff's willingness to learn and grow. One afternoon, as he observed a training session, he pulled Chloe aside. "You've got guts, kid," he said with a rare smile. "Most people would have walked away, but you stayed and made them face their mistakes. That takes strength." Chloe shrugged, her lips curving into a small smile. "I've spent so much of my life running from people's judgments. It feels good to finally stand my ground." Clint nodded. "And you've done more than that. You've planted a seed. Now it's up to them to make sure it grows." Within weeks, the store became a model of inclusivity, drawing customers from all walks of life. The transformation didn't go unnoticed, with the boutique earning praise from the community and even making headlines for its commitment to change. Chloe, once rejected, became a regular at the store, her confidence growing with each visit. One afternoon, as she browsed the racks, the sales associate approached her with a tentative smile. "Chloe," she began, "I just wanted to thank you again for giving us the chance to do better. You've taught us so much and we're better for it." Chloe looked at her, a mixture of pride and forgiveness in her eyes. "Thank you for listening," she said. "That's where change starts." On the day of the store's grand reopening, Chloe and Clint were invited as guests of honor. The event was packed, with members of the community coming together to celebrate the boutique's transformation. Clint gave a brief speech, his words simple but powerful. "This isn't just about one store," he said. "It's about what we can achieve when we choose understanding over judgment, kindness over fear. Change isn't easy, but it's always worth it." The crowd erupted into applause, and Chloe felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She had started the day as an outsider, but now, she stood as a symbol of resilience and hope. As the event wound down, Clint turned to Chloe with a knowing smile. "Well, kid," he said, "looks like you taught them a lesson they won't forget." Chloe grinned, her heart light. "We taught them, Clint. Together." And with that, they walked out of the store, side by side, leaving behind a legacy of courage, kindness, and change. Chloe stood at the store's reopening celebration, surrounded by the bustling energy of a crowd eager to support the newly transformed space. Despite the joyful atmosphere, she couldn't help but reflect on how much had changed in such a short period. Just weeks ago, she had been turned away, humiliated and hurt, and now she stood as a guest of honor, a symbol of resilience and change. The event was carefully curated to showcase the boutique's new values. Signs around the store proclaimed messages of inclusivity, "Everyone welcome here," and "Fashion without limits." The staff wore badges with the word, "Your story matters," a subtle nod to Chloe's insistence on being heard. Tables were set up with brochures about diversity, equity, and inclusion, alongside handouts about local resources for LGBTQ+ individuals. As Chloe wandered through the space, a voice called out to her. "Chloe." It was Lisa, the young staff member who had first expressed remorse during the confrontation. She approached with a broad smile, holding 2 glasses of sparkling water. "I've been looking for you," Lisa said, handing Chloe a glass. "I just wanted to say, thank you. Truly. You've been so patient with all of us, and I can't tell you how much we've learned from your courage." Chloe took the glass, her lips curving into a faint smile. "Thank you, Lisa. It's been a journey, for all of us. But I'm proud of the progress you've made. It feels good to see this place welcoming everyone." Lisa nodded, her expression thoughtful. "It hasn't been easy, but it's been worth it. We've been having regular training sessions, and honestly, I've had to confront a lot of my own assumptions. I didn't even realize how much I was contributing to the problem." "That's the first step," Chloe said, her voice gentle. "Recognizing the issue. It takes courage to admit you were wrong and even more to do something about it." As the evening continued, Chloe found herself speaking with various guests, each conversation reinforcing the importance of the work that had been done. A middle-aged man approached her, his face earnest. "Chloe," he began, "I'm a parent of a transgender teenager. When I heard what happened here and how you handled it, I felt compelled to come tonight. I just wanted to thank you for standing up, not just for yourself, but for people like my kid. You're giving them a world where they can feel safer." Chloe's heart swelled with emotion. "Thank you for sharing that," she said softly. "Your support means more than you know. And your child is lucky to have you in their corner." The man smiled, his eyes glistening. "It's people like you who inspire me to be better for them." Nearby, Clint watched the interactions with a quiet sense of pride. He had seen many battles in his life, on screen and off, but few had left him as moved as this one. Chloe's strength and determination reminded him of the importance of standing up for what was right, even when the odds seemed stacked against you. Later that evening, Clint found Chloe near the refreshments table, sipping her drink and observing the crowd. "How are you holding up, kid?" he asked, his voice warm. Chloe turned to him, her smile tinged with exhaustion. "I'm okay. It's been a lot to take in, but it's worth it." Clint nodded, leaning against the table. "You've done something remarkable here. This place, it's not just a store anymore. It's a symbol." Chloe raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "A symbol of what?" "Of change," Clint replied simply. "Of what's possible when people choose to do better. You didn't just fight back, you gave them a chance to learn and grow. That takes guts." Chloe shrugged, her cheeks flushing slightly. "I didn't do it alone. You were there every step of the way." Clint smiled faintly. "Maybe, but it was your story that made them listen. You've got more power than you realize." As the event began to wind down, the store's manager approached Chloe with a small box in her hands. "Chloe," she said, her tone soft but sincere, "we wanted to give you this as a token of our appreciation." Chloe hesitated, then opened the box to reveal a beautiful necklace. A simple gold pendant shaped like a phoenix, a symbol of resilience and rebirth. Her breath caught as she lifted it, the light catching on the polished surface. "It's perfect," Chloe said, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you." The manager smiled. "It's the least we could do. You've taught us so much, not just about inclusivity, but about humanity. We're better because of you." Chloe slipped the necklace around her neck, the weight of it grounding her in the moment. "I hope this place continues to grow," she said. "Not just for me, but for everyone who walks through those doors." As the night came to a close, Clint and Chloe stepped outside, the cool evening air wrapping around them. The streets were quiet now, the hustle and bustle of the event fading into the background. "So," Clint said, glancing at Chloe, "what's next for you?" Chloe smiled, a sense of purpose lighting up her face. "I'm not sure yet, but I know this isn't the end. There's still so much work to be done." Clint chuckled, his eyes twinkling with admiration. "You remind me of someone I used to know, a fighter who never backed down." Chloe tilted her head, curious. "Who?" Clint grinned. "Me." They both laughed, the sound carrying into the night. For Chloe, this was just the beginning of a new chapter, one where her voice, her story, and her courage could continue to create ripples of change. The next morning, Chloe woke up to an unexpected flurry of messages on her phone. Social media had caught wind of the boutique's transformation, and posts about the event were spreading like wildfire. Photos of Chloe standing next to Clint Eastwood, the necklace shining proudly around her neck, were accompanied by captions celebrating the store's commitment to change. From exclusion to inclusion, Boutique sets a new standard for acceptance. A courageous woman and a Hollywood legend inspire a community to embrace diversity. Chloe's story, how one voice sparked a movement. Chloe scrolled through the comments, her emotions swirling as she read messages of support and gratitude from people all over the country. Some shared their own stories of discrimination, while others expressed admiration for her bravery. A particularly moving comment caught her eye. "As a trans woman, I've always felt invisible in spaces like this. Seeing someone stand up and demand respect gives me hope. Thank you, Chloe, for paving the way." Tears welled in Chloe's eyes as she realized the true impact of her actions. What had started as a painful moment of rejection had become a catalyst for something much greater. Her voice had not only changed the boutique but had inspired countless others to believe in the possibility of a more inclusive world. Meanwhile, at the boutique, the staff was buzzing with energy. The overwhelming response to their transformation had brought in a wave of new customers, many of whom expressed their appreciation for the changes the store had made. Lisa, the young employee who had been deeply moved by Chloe's story, took it upon herself to ensure the new values were upheld. "Remember," she said during a morning meeting, "it's not just about looking inclusive, it's about living it. Every person who walks through those doors deserves to feel welcome and respected. Let's make sure we keep doing the work." The staff nodded in agreement, their resolve strengthened by the positive feedback they'd received. The store had become more than just a place to shop. It was now a symbol of progress, a space where everyone could feel seen and valued. Later that week, Chloe received a call from the store's manager. "Chloe," she said, her voice filled with excitement, "we have an idea, and we'd love for you to be a part of it." "What's the idea?" Chloe asked, intrigued. "We want to host a community event, a storytelling night, inspired by you," the manager explained. "The goal is to give people a platform to share their experiences and foster understanding. And we were hoping you'd be our keynote speaker." Chloe's heart skipped a beat. The idea of speaking in front of a crowd was daunting, but the opportunity to create meaningful change was too important to pass up. "I'd be honored," she said. On the night of the event, the boutique was transformed into a cozy, welcoming space. Chairs were arranged in a semicircle, and a small stage was set up at the front, adorned with soft lighting and vibrant floral arrangements. The crowd was a mix of familiar faces and new ones, all eager to hear the stories that would be shared. Clint arrived early, taking a seat near the front. He had been following Chloe's journey closely, and he wouldn't have missed this moment for anything. As the room filled, he watched with quiet pride as Chloe stepped onto the stage, her presence calm yet commanding. "Good evening," she began, her voice steady despite the nerves fluttering in her chest. "Thank you all for being here tonight. This event is about more than just sharing stories. It's about creating connections, building bridges, and understanding one another." She paused, her gaze sweeping over the audience. "A few weeks ago, I walked into this store and was turned away. It was a moment that could have broken me, but instead, it became the start of something incredible. Today, this boutique is a place of inclusion and respect, a place where people like me can feel safe and valued." The audience listened intently as Chloe shared her story, her words weaving a tapestry of resilience, pain, and hope. She spoke about the importance of standing up for oneself and the power of community in driving change. By the time she finished, the room was filled with applause, the sound echoing like a heartbeat of unity. The storytelling night continued with a diverse lineup of speakers, each sharing their own experiences of overcoming adversity and finding strength in their identity. A young Black artist spoke about breaking stereotypes in the fashion industry. An older gay couple shared their journey of acceptance and love. And a local business owner recounted how they had transformed their store into a safe space for marginalized groups. As the evening drew to a close, Chloe and Clint were invited to the stage together for a Q&A session. The moderator smiled warmly as she addressed them. Chloe, Clint, your partnership has inspired so many people. What's next for you too? Chloe glanced at Clint, her eyes sparkling with determination. We're just getting started, she said. There's so much more work to be done, and I want to keep using my voice to advocate for change. Clint nodded in agreement. It's about keeping the momentum going, he added. This isn't just a one-time event, it's a movement. And as long as there's injustice in the world, there's work to be done. The event was a resounding success, leaving a lasting impact on everyone who attended. As Chloe and Clint mingled with the crowd afterward, they were approached by a young non-binary individual who had been visibly moved by the evening. Thank you, they said, their voice trembling with emotion. For standing up, for creating this space, for everything. You've given people like me hope. Chloe smiled, her heart full. You're not alone, she said. And as long as we keep standing together, we can create the world we want to see. The night ended with a quiet moment between Chloe and Clint outside the boutique. The streets were empty, the stars twinkling above them as they reflected on the journey they had shared. You did good, kid, Clint said, his voice warm. Real good? Chloe looked at him, her smile soft but radiant. So did you? As they parted ways, Chloe felt a sense of purpose she had never known before. She wasn't just a survivor, she was a force for change. And with allies like Clint by her side, she knew there was no limit to what they could achieve. The days following the storytelling event were a whirlwind of activity for Chloe. The event had sparked an overwhelming response from the community, with countless messages pouring in from attendees and those who had heard about it online. Many expressed their gratitude for the safe space the boutique had created, while others shared their own experiences of exclusion and how Chloe's story had inspired them to speak up. Chloe felt both humbled and energized. The momentum from the event made it clear that this was only the beginning of something much larger. The boutique staff, led by Lisa and the manager, reached out to Chloe with an idea for a follow-up project, a community outreach program designed to foster inclusivity and awareness throughout the town. The project, aptly named Threads of Unity, would include workshops, panel discussions, and mentorship opportunities for young people in the community. Chloe was immediately on board, eager to help expand the impact of their efforts. As plans for Threads of Unity took shape, Chloe found herself taking on a leadership role she had never anticipated. She worked closely with the boutique staff, local organizations, and even schools to organize events that would bring people together and create lasting change. One afternoon, as Chloe sat in a coffee shop reviewing proposals for the program, Clint walked in, his presence as commanding as ever. Spotting her, he made his way over and pulled up a chair. "How's the big project coming along?" he asked, his tone casual but his interest genuine. Chloe smiled, holding up a stack of papers. "It's a lot of work, but it's exciting. We're planning workshops on everything from unconscious bias to allyship. And we're partnering with local artists to create a mural that represents the community's diversity." Clint nodded, his expression approving. "You've got your hands full, but it sounds like you're building something meaningful." Chloe leaned back in her chair, her smile turning reflective. "It's funny. A few weeks ago, I was just trying to buy a dress. Now, I feel like I'm part of something so much bigger than myself." "That's the thing about moments like this," Clint said, his voice thoughtful. "They start small, but they have the power to grow into something that changes lives." Chloe looked at him, her gratitude evident. "Thank you for believing in me, Clint. I don't think I'd have had the courage to do all this without your support." Clint shrugged, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "All I did was give you a push. The rest, you did that on your own." The first Threads of Unity event was held in the boutique, which had quickly become a hub for the community. The space was transformed with vibrant decorations, art displays, and informational booths. The highlight of the event was a panel discussion featuring Chloe, Clint, and several community leaders. As the panel began, the room buzzed with anticipation. Chloe felt a flutter of nerves as she took her seat next to Clint, but his calm presence reassured her. The moderator introduced each panelist, highlighting their contributions to the project and the community. When it was Chloe's turn to speak, she took a deep breath and leaned into the microphone. "I want to start by saying how grateful I am to be here today," she began. This project is proof of what can happen when people come together with open minds and open hearts. It's about creating a world where everyone feels seen, valued, and included. She paused, glancing at the audience. A few weeks ago, I was turned away from this very store. It was a moment that could have crushed me, but instead, it became the catalyst for something incredible. It showed me that even in the face of adversity, we have the power to create change. The audience erupted into applause, and Chloe felt a surge of confidence. She spoke about the importance of empathy, the need for accountability, and the power of storytelling to bridge divides. By the time she finished, the room was filled with a sense of unity and hope. The Threads of Unity program quickly gained traction, with more and more people eager to get involved. Workshops were held in schools, businesses, and community centers, each one fostering deeper understanding and connection. The mural project Chloe had mentioned to Clint became a centerpiece of the initiative, with artists and volunteers working together to create a stunning visual representation of the community's diversity. Chloe often visited the mural site, watching as the vibrant colors and intricate designs came to life. One day, as she stood admiring the progress, Lisa joined her, a paintbrush in hand. "This is incredible," Lisa said, gesturing to the mural. "Every time I look at it, I see something new." Chloe nodded, her eyes scanning the artwork. "It's a reminder of what we're capable of when we work together. Every piece of this mural tells a story, and together, they create something beautiful." Lisa smiled, her admiration for Chloe clear. "You've inspired so many people, Chloe, including me. I used to think change was impossible, but you've shown me otherwise." Chloe turned to Lisa, her expression thoughtful. "Change isn't easy, but it's always worth it. And it starts with people like you, people who are willing to learn and grow." As the program continued to flourish, Chloe and Clint's partnership became a beacon of hope for others. They were invited to speak at events and conferences, sharing their story and encouraging others to take action in their own communities. Each time, Chloe marveled at how far she had come, from being rejected at a boutique to standing on stages and advocating for change. One evening, after a particularly moving event, Chloe and Clint sat together backstage, reflecting on their journey. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't stepped in that day?" Chloe asked, her tone contemplative. Clint tilted his head, considering her question. "I think you would have found a way to make your voice heard, one way or another. You're too strong not to." Chloe smiled, her heart warmed by his words. "And what about you? Do you think you've changed through all of this?" Clint chuckled, his eyes twinkling. "Even an old dog can learn new tricks, kid. This journey, it's reminded me of the power of standing up for what's right. And it's given me hope for the future." In the months following the launch of Threads of Unity, the program continued to expand in ways Chloe and Clint could never have anticipated. What began as a boutique's journey toward redemption had blossomed into a full-scale movement, inspiring similar initiatives in neighboring towns and even catching the attention of larger organizations across the country. Chloe found herself juggling multiple roles: advocate, mentor, and community leader. She worked tirelessly to ensure that the momentum they had built wasn't just a fleeting moment of goodwill but a sustained effort toward lasting change. Her days were filled with meetings, workshops, and speaking engagements, but through it all, she never lost sight of why she had started: to create a world where everyone, regardless of who they were, could feel seen and valued. One afternoon, as Chloe was preparing for a community panel, her phone buzzed with a call from Clint. "Hey, kid," he said when she answered, his tone carrying the familiar warmth she had come to rely on. "Got a minute?" "Always," Chloe replied, setting down her notes. "What's up?" "I've been talking to some folks who were at the Threads of Unity event," Clint began. "And they're interested in taking this to the next level. They want to bring the program to schools, workplaces, even local government offices. What do you think?" Chloe's heart raced at the possibilities. "That sounds incredible," she said. "But it's a big step. Are we ready for that?" Clint chuckled. "If anyone's ready, it's you. You've already proven what's possible when people come together. This is just the next chapter." Chloe smiled, the weight of his confidence in her sinking in. "All right," she said. "Let's do it." The expansion of Threads of Unity brought new challenges and opportunities. Chloe worked closely with educators and community leaders to tailor workshops and programs to different audiences, ensuring that the message of inclusivity and understanding resonated with everyone. Clint, ever the mentor, continued to provide guidance and support, using his platform to amplify the initiative's reach. One of the most impactful projects to come from the expansion was a youth mentorship program designed to empower marginalized young people. Chloe took a personal interest in the program, meeting with students and sharing her story in hopes of inspiring them to embrace their identities and stand up for themselves. At one mentorship event, Chloe sat with a group of teenagers, their faces a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "I know what it's like to feel like you don't belong," she told them, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "But I also know that you have the power to change the world, just by being yourselves." One student, a shy non-binary teen named Alex, raised their hand. "How do you stay strong when people try to tear you down?" they asked, their voice barely above a whisper. Chloe thought for a moment before replying. "It's not always easy," she admitted. "But I remind myself that their judgment says more about them than it does about me. And I focus on the people who support and love me for who I am. Surrounding yourself with allies makes all the difference." Alex nodded, their expression softening. "Thank you," they said. "That really helps." As Threads of Unity continued to grow, so did Chloe's role as a leader and advocate. She was invited to speak at a national conference on diversity and inclusion, sharing the story of how one moment of injustice had sparked a movement. Standing on the grand stage, Chloe felt a wave of emotions, nerves, pride, and gratitude as she addressed the packed auditorium. "This all started because I was told I didn't belong," she said, her voice carrying across the room. "But instead of letting that moment define me, I chose to stand up and demand better. And in doing so, I discovered that change is possible when we work together. Every one of us has the power to make a difference, no matter how small the action may seem." Her words were met with a standing ovation, and as Chloe looked out at the sea of faces, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The journey had been far from easy, but it had been worth every challenge, every setback, every moment of doubt. Back in her hometown, Chloe continued to stay involved in the boutique, which had become a beacon of inclusivity and a hub for community events. One evening, as she helped Lisa close up for the night, she reflected on how far they had come. "Do you remember that first day I walked in here?" Chloe asked, her tone light but introspective. Lisa winced, a sheepish smile on her face. "How could I forget? I was such a mess back then." Chloe laughed softly. "We all were. But look at us now. This place, it's become so much more than a store." Lisa nodded, her expression thoughtful. "It's because of you, Chloe. You gave us a second chance when you didn't have to. And you've changed more lives than you probably realize." Chloe smiled, a sense of peace settling over her. "It wasn't just me," she said. "It was all of us, together." As the months turned into years, Threads of Unity became a national movement, with programs in schools, businesses, and community centers across the country. Chloe and Clint remained at the forefront, their partnership a symbol of what could be achieved when people came together to stand up for what was right. One day, as Chloe prepared to speak at yet another event, she received a message from Clint. It was simple but profound. "Proud of you, kid. Keep going." Chloe smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude. She knew the work was far from over, but she also knew she wasn't alone. With allies like Clint and countless others by her side, she felt ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. The story of Threads of Unity became a testament to the power of resilience, empathy, and collaboration. What had started as a painful moment of exclusion had grown into a movement that touched countless lives, proving that even the smallest acts of courage could spark lasting change. And for Chloe, the journey was only just beginning. She carried the lessons she had learned and the connections she had made with her, determined to continue building a world where everyone was treated with the dignity and respect they deserved. As she stepped onto the stage once more, Chloe looked out at the crowd, her voice steady and confident as she began to speak. This was her purpose, her calling, and she wouldn't stop until every voice was heard, every story was valued, and every person was free to be their true, authentic self.